Welcome back to my channel. My name's Lucy and I share videos on the topic of long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome and mind-body approaches that can be used to help those conditions and other mind-body conditions. I also offer coaching to people who are interested in applying a mind-body approach to their own recovery. In today's video, I wanted to talk about recovery becoming your whole focus in life. And I think it's really easy for this to happen, especially when you have become really unwell, and being unwell has been something you've been dealing with for a number of years, and naturally you want to get better, so thinking about recovery becomes your focus, and thinking about what you can do and problem solving, what might help, what might not help, becomes everything you think about. So what I share in this video is not medical or mental health advice. I'm just sharing ideas based on my own experience and based on information around mind-body approaches. Naturally, if you've been unwell for a long time, you will feel desperate to get better. You will just want a solution. You will want to get out of it. Often people with these conditions have a part within them that's really driven and achiever focused. And I think this is a real attribute in so many areas of life. Having a driven part within you, an achiever part, a part that's used to succeeding and doing well, is really helpful. But also it can sometimes take over, and especially around recovery, it can start to make recovery a full-time job where all you are doing every day is reading about recovery, is listening to podcasts about recovery, is thinking about different things you can try. And this can be really useful on one level. So you might have come across certain approaches that are helping you by doing this. You might have, through trial and error, figured out some things that don't help you, some things that do help you. You may be able to tick off things that you've tried and say, well, I've tried these and I've other things yet to try. The problem is for people following a mind-body approach, or even for people who are just trying to get better using whatever they can, thinking about recovery all of the time sometimes takes away from what other things we could be doing that might help with giving our body messages of safety, with starting to create a new life for ourselves. And I think often it can be related to perfectionism, because we think, okay, well, let's focus on recovery now, and once I've recovered, I'll focus on, socializing again, or I'll focus on getting back into my hobbies again. I'll focus on finding a job I'm passionate about. I'll focus on doing all of these things later. And for some people, they might be so unwell that really thinking about what job they're going to do right now is not actually appropriate. That it might not be the right time for them to think about that. But they could start thinking about things they do enjoy that they could do in little bits. Making recovery and recovery exercises a full-time job might be an indication that an achiever part, a perfectionist part, or a driven, organized part is in the driving seat of your life and is having a big influence on what you decide to do and how much you do, and how relaxed you can be about that. And this is important to recognize and think about how you can bring in a little bit more balance. Because one reason for this is that it will help with nervous system regulation and calming down if you can do some things that you enjoy, even if it's just small amounts. So say, for instance, if you really enjoy sport, maybe if you're not at that point yet where you're able to do that sport, watching some videos about that sport. If that is triggering for you, brings up sadness, it makes you feel sad that you're not able to do it, maybe you haven't fully processed the loss and the disappointment in your current situation. But there might be other things that you enjoy listening to, reading about, or doing. Art and craft is a really good example because it can be relaxing and also creative and a nice distraction from thinking about being unwell and from thinking about recovery. I think it's really admirable how much time and work and dedication people put into recovery. And if you're following a mind-body approach, often people are doing so many different tools and exercises in a day that can be helpful, and they are really trying their best. They're doing everything they can to get better. And this is amazing, but it can also be helpful to try to do some normal activities as well within your current capacity. Focusing solely on recovery, as I said before, might not mean that you are fully balanced, and doing some of these other things can help with our body and our brain recognizing, oh, it is safe to do a little bit of this activity and I'll be okay doing this. For people who are really physically not in a good place right now and they're in bed all of the time and struggle with very small amounts of activity, it's also really important for you to have a break from thinking about being unwell and thinking about illness and recovery. And some people will be managing this well already, where they are able to listen to an audiobook, or they will watch a video, they'll watch some TV, they'll have time in their day that is a different focus, that is allowing them to just laugh and just be in the moment and not think about having to change their situation. Other people, it might be helpful to start thinking about where you fall on this spectrum, and if you can bring a little bit more other activities into your day. And then there'll be other people on the complete other end of the spectrum where actually they're either avoiding, or they're unmotivated, or they're struggling with finding tools that will help. And so they're not really doing many things that are helpful, and they're using distraction all day long. So that's a different maybe an avoidant part is in the driving seat for you, and perhaps actually being aware of that and how you can bring in some things, tools and techniques that might help day to day is something that's a more helpful focus for you. So this varies so much person to person. But I think it's important for people to realize and recognize that you don't have to dedicate every minute of every day to doing this work, and it doesn't need to become a full-time job. And checking in with emotions, if you are doing it once or twice a day, or when your symptoms are worse during the day, you're doing it. You don't need to do it every hour. You don't need to create an unrealistic looking routine that you won't be able to keep up once you get better. So you want to be aiming to give this time to your recovery, to the tools and the techniques that are going to help, but also not set yourself up in a situation where you'd never be able to keep up with all of this once your symptoms start to reduce. That, of course, often we do reduce doing the things that help once we get better, but having time at some point and having realistic expectations of how you can keep going with what you're doing now is helpful and important. The other thing that can happen is when people are so focused on recovery and what they're going to do to get better and how many tools they're using in a day, how many times they're meditating, how many times they're doing breathing exercises, sometimes this can be a really big distraction from thinking about what life will be like when you're better and what you're going to do, whether you'll go back to your previous work, whether you will want to go back to your hobbies that you did before, whether your friend group is now aligned with you and whether you want to spend time with those people again. What I've found, both through my own experience but also from talking to a lot of people, is that the stage of going back into life and finding your feet again with work, with things that you enjoy, with relationships, that is really challenging. And sometimes it means facing some feelings that we have, feelings of loss, feelings of disappointment, feelings related to what has happened before, and maybe you need to start speaking to people again that have not understood you being unwell, or maybe you need to decide that you're not going to speak to them again, or maybe you need to face the fact that you didn't enjoy your work and you need to change careers, and that can be really challenging and overwhelming. And so it can sometimes be good to then gradually start thinking about these things, facing these feelings or fears or concerns about the future. One thing that helped me quite a lot when I was in that phase of recovery was thinking about what was going to be a good amount of time for me to focus on my recovery that gave me a good chance of having enough time, enough space to do these exercises where they would be effective for me, having enough time to focus on this versus living my life. So how can I get this balance? And there's no perfect answer. It's going to look different for different people. Some people really go into living their life so much and abandoning the mind-body exercises, not thinking about it, in some ways potentially going into an avoidance mode. And so it's trying not to go that far, but also not staying in thinking about recovery obsessively so much that you are not thinking about what comes next in life, what you will do, what you will start to do. Sometimes for people, staying in a phase of recovery where they're not yet ready to move forward can serve them in some way, because it's hard to think about the future, and it's not easy to get back into a normal life again and build new friendships or think about how life has gone and how you're going to move forward in a different way, because maybe you can't be the person you used to be. You've learned new things about yourself, so you can't just slot back into where you were. And maybe years have gone by where things have changed, and being unwell has had such a big impact on you that it is like starting afresh and it's starting again. So being perfectionistic about it and thinking of recovery as, okay, this is my recovery phase, and after my recovery phase, when I'm better, I'll think about all of these other things, I think can be too binary. And that might work for some people, but not for others. For others, they might need to really start integrating some of their day-to-day things they enjoy, day-to-day things they need to face now, even though you might still have symptoms. But I suppose also really importantly, thinking about what you enjoy, if there is some way you can bring things that you enjoy into your day-to-day life. Because often when people are stuck in this recovery mode, it's like a full-time job. Sometimes it can be enjoyable listening to and reading about mind-body information and recovery, but also there's so many other things to life that we can enjoy and do. With every video I make, I'm thinking, different people have different challenges, and so this might not apply to everyone. And the purpose of this video is really just to help you question, does this apply to me? Do I need to start thinking about this? Am I spending too much time in my day just focusing on recovery, and can I relax that? Or have I gone the other way, and maybe I need to face some of what I'm feeling about actually doing some things that might help. Part of becoming well again is thinking about what would I do if I was fully well right now? Would I be researching recovery all of the time? Would I be watching recovery videos all of the time? Or would I be doing something different? Would I be doing other things I enjoy? Starting to do things that are normal again and that you enjoy and that are more representative of the life you want to lead in the future can be really great for just telling your brain and body you're safe, you're okay, you can do normal things again, even if it's not at the same level as before, or even if you do still have some symptoms and you're slowly working towards where you want to be. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. If you have any thoughts on this or if you resonate with it, put a comment below. If you are interested in coaching, there's a link in the description that you can find out more information about that and book a call. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, also you can find some links in the description. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.